The first expression of Virgo is conviction. And to develop conviction, we have really to own an unpopular approach to life, an unpopular belief. Otherwise, we're just going along with the mainstream. There's no need for development of conviction at all. And what we have then to do is to choose something which for us is significant. And in Virgo 1 we have a man's head. This is the most significant part of a man's being. And it represents the idea within us that we choose to make a certain aspect of life the most significant thing that we are or we have or we do. And this is an important aspect of developing our sense of self, our uniqueness of being. Some people are involved entirely in their families, others in their career, others in their hobbies, others in their political beliefs and so on. And if you actually identify them uniquely, you have to mention that important thing. So for any of us that want to develop this sense of knowing who we are and what we're about, then we have to become aware of that which is within us most significant. And in fact, Virgo 2 suggests what we could then do with that significant thing, and that's raise it to the level of sacredness, a large cross upraised. We do this as a species. We make some things sacred, and we give them symbols, and we attend to their rituals and so on. And what we choose to do that to is very much a presentation of our culture and our personality. People come to equally strong convictions about completely different things. Conviction itself is pretty much regardless of content. So some people think that the large cross is a emblem of spirituality. The Christians believe that, whereas people equally convinced of a different reality would use a different symbol. Whatever, I mean, the point is here that we know that for something to be of the ultimate significance, it has to be sacred. So this second degree of Virgo is to do with uncovering sacredness within us as a potential and then giving it some expression, some form. And that's important for us to give form to what we consider sacredness. If we don't, then it isn't sacred. We have to act upon our sense of sacredness to make it sacred. Worth contemplating, that one. A lot of people think of themselves as spiritual or sort of in belief of sacredness and so on, and actually do nothing with that. If you step one step further and you do something with that, raise up the cross and worship it, or whatever else you want to worship, and you take action to do that, then what happens is that your decision about sacredness itself, what it is, that it is enacted. You've acted upon that feeling. If a feeling does not take physical form, what is it? A thought and a feeling without physical action, they don't have the same power. Now in Virgo 3, we consider two angels giving us protection. What are angels? They could be aspects of our being. A scientist would say, or a psychologist would say it's an aspect of the higher self, and that's a fair enough expression for it. It could be disembodied beings of a different quality to us, not us, but somebody that some beings that we can tune into independently. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that they do exist for those people that believe that they exist, and whether or not they exist for the others is not really important. You come to a point when sacredness actually unfolds some sense of a different reality, a reality that cannot be measured, is not physical. And it's the majority of the population of the world that think this way. This is not some strange aberrant thought that rather primitive people have. Not at all. Most people believe in the existence of a non-physical realm. It is only the very ardent scientific materialist that tries to deny that. So those of us that do believe in angels, we're in the majority. And yet in the West we need to come to that, because we're kind of brought up, told that science explains things better than religion, and some religionists sort of say the opposite, and there's this debate going on, so we're given grounds for confusion and doubt about that. But as we move through this process of finding out what is significant to us, making it sacred, then we actually come to have some communion with angelic presences. And that is a protection. That takes the form of faith very often. It could be more than that, synchronicity and so on. But that is a protection for us, and that guides us too. It's not only protection, it also guides us. When we're on this track of moving further into sacredness, we notice that the attitude of mind, our perception, our choices of thinking and feeling even, have evolved. And in Virgo 4 we see the implications of that evolution, that we do not have silly judgments about right and wrong, or black and white people being better than each other, or anything like that. The mind becomes clear of that silly level of prejudice that is so popular throughout the world. And we're free of that. We become freed of that in this process of sanctification of our lives, of making sacred this significant part of our being. This is something to practice. We probably do have prejudices in early years, and we have to learn what they are before we can deal with them. And we can free up our mind then to have a different facility. Instead of close-minded, bigoted sense of right and wrong and judgment, something much more beautiful unfolds. Virgo 5, a man dreaming of fairies. And as we dream, so it will become. We dream our futures first. We create the future that we want in this visionary way. We envision it. And the dreaming here, slightly ambiguous word. Sometimes we dream because we're sleeping, and sometimes we dream because we're visioning the future. So a man dreaming of fairies is visioning a future which has these nature spirits, this non-worldly sense of mystery and magic. But then the number 7, unicorns, elves and those kind of things, he's aware of that reality and chooses that as a part of his sense of sacredness and what is significant, the mystical. And a lot of people don't, for some reason. Children have no difficulty choosing that to be part of their reality. But by the time you get to a certain age, it's not so easy. And it is one of those beliefs that goes contrary to some mainstream thought. And so if you're one of these people that believe in certain things having sacredness, like fairies and angels and those kind of things, then it's not just enough to make that a belief, or you have to be happy to make that a conviction. You know, you're absolutely sure about that. You've chosen that. That is the case. And whoever actually tells you you're wrong, it's not going to change your mind. It has to be raised to that level, because Virgo is that kind of sign. It needs to know what it's doing because it wants to do it perfectly well. And you can't be muddy-minded. You can't be confused if you're going to be precise and perfect your way of being. Confusion just doesn't have any part of that. Conviction does. That's where we start with Virgo, the first expression. You need conviction.